Welcome to Stew in the Nut, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on the show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. We would like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, Boothammer.com, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, Graybeard Publishing, and of course, Sheepdog Response. We would also like to recognize some of our favorite nonprofit charities who are doing great things for those who have served this country of ours. Veterans Outdoors, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, PinUpsForVets.com, and the Lauren F. Bruner USS Arizona Memorial Foundation. To learn more about these nonprofits and how you can donate to their awesome causes, visit our website at www.stewinthenun.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Wow, my partner's chair just went empty. Hello, everybody. Welcome to. There he is. Another episode 123 of Stew in the Nun. Stu here, and to my left, the Nun. You're right. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
You know, two things are important to annotate before we go any further. Number one is 123. That's right. First of the 23rd Infantry. Tomahawks.
Tomahawks.
Shout out to my people right now in honor of this is the Tomahawk Tuesday show.
Is that what we call it now? Tomahawk Tuesday?
Preferably nice. The first battalion, but all battalions are loved. Happy Tomahawk Tuesday to you. Welcome to Stew in the Nun. It's great to be here. It's been a busy day, and we are excited to be back live on the air. Doing what we do and how we do.
That's it. Episode 123 here on May 8th. May 8th, Toby. Like we're almost to halfway of the year, dude. May 8th.
We're almost halfway.
What are you sipping on there, my friend? I see you.
America. I just got to get a little Liberty right here on my lips, and once I get Liberty on my lips, the sweet. Oh, can you hear that?
I can hear that. That microphone works. Well, right there.
That's why I put it right there. Big shout out to Yeti, always supporting the Yeti because Yeti are a good company. I don't care what fake news told you. Yeti always supporting all good things, especially Veteran Outdoors, like the hat you're rocking right there. So Yeti, Smith, Gerber, all the great companies that do good things for Veteran Outdoors. We love you. Wrench Brewery, I'm drinking, in addition to American bourbon, a little red poppy Irish red ale from Wrench Brewery here in Georgetown, Texas. And I'm broadcasting from the new Southern Studio, which you will be in next week on Thursday, living large in my spot.
Yes, I'll be in your world there. That is a new Southern Studio. Nice. You can tell. Look at here's the big mic. And you got some artwork going. What were we gonna say? Yeah, there's something about that microphone. I think that gets my buddy Kevin in the chat room. Kevin Blush gets a little excited when he sees that microphone, don't you, Kevin? I'm sure John Kaiser does too. Yeah, it is it looks sharp. It's very lit. It's very not lit in the modern term, but lit as in very bright in there. You got the sun coming in, so you must have that must be facing the west.
It is.
That window.
And one of the coolest things that you're going to see next week when you're in here is that through my window, I don't have much of a view through my middle window, but what I do have a view of is the entire flagpole and flag with truck on top pole that every time I look up from my desk, look out the window, all I see is Old Glory flying. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful, spectacular views that you can imagine. There's nothing but blue sky behind it. It's just
That's awesome. What a view. Almost like you planned that. And it matches well with that beautiful flag, both on the chest of that awesome looking Enlisted 9 shirt, but also on that shoulder of that Enlisted 9 shirt. Just there's flags everywhere.
Right. I believe heavily in representing flags as often as possible. Perhaps you've seen prison movies where they're like, hey, you got to put your flag up. Well, I believe in society. You got to put your flag up all the time. I believe in wearing flags on my chest, on my arms, on my walls. There's a special flag that you will see perhaps next week when you're here that you might enjoy seeing.
That'd be great. Who knows? If you notice behind me, I've done a nice little thing there. If you notice, I have a nice "Come and Take It" flag behind me. But you see, like the what's behind it? You got a backdrop of the American flag supporting the Second Amendment. You see what I did there? They got that. Yeah. You got it kind of bleeding through kind of thing.
Almost like it's watermarked.
Almost like it's watermarked.
Freedom's watermarked by the Second Amendment.
Yes. All across us. But anyways, welcome everyone. You are in for quite a treat tonight on this show. We didn't get a blog post up because, what's great about this country and just in the current time, everything going on in social media and the president we have that does not hold nothing back, who's the most transparent one we've ever had, is we only have to look back the last 24 hours and we have a world of topics to talk about. It's hard to plan topics when we don't have a guest planned up, which we kind of alternate in and out of that. To try to Toby and I talk on a Friday or so, like, what are we going to cover this week? But it's like, let's just wait till Monday, because we will have a plethora of topics to discuss, and I think that's what we have tonight. Would you not agree, Toby? As you text on your phone to somebody,
I'm texting right now because one thing that I'm always concerned about is our technical aspects, and being that this is the first broadcast from the new Southern studio, wanted to make sure all was good, and it sounds like
good. Yeah, I mean, you're looking sharp to me and sounding good.
Why I'm looking sharp?
You got a lot of hair.
Second haircut.
You got a lot of hair going there. I'm not a fan of that.
I know, bro. Just hang with me.
Yeah.
Jessica's not a fan of it either. She actually asked how long the waiting period for a divorce was in Texas, because she was like, I don't know how much of your hair I can take.
Tell her, don't worry, I'll be there soon. She can rub this bald head. It kind of hold her over until you decide to shave it off, quit looking like a hippie. So
yeah, I'm never gonna tell her
that. But so in the chat room, you can let us know how we're sounding. I'm seeing lots of thumbs up and hearts. Appreciate that. Seeing lots of love from our listeners and viewers. But I think we're sounding and looking okay. We've been kind of on a roll here since we've done some updates to our tech for about the last month or so. I think we've been rocking pretty solid. Our guests maybe have had some issues, but we've been good.
Speaking of guests, and I have the Facebook one up over here. So if I keep looking right in the new studio, the screen situation is a little bit different. Doug Mullins, the Shard.
Not the Shard, the Shard, with the D.
No, it was there. I just did a hard A on it. The Shard. Yeah. Is it his birthday?
It is his birthday. That's right. Give that man
to do a salutation, birthday salutation to him.
We don't have to sing, do we? We don't have to sing.
No.
Just definitely give him a big shout out.
Happy birthday, Shard.
Yes, I could do a Marilyn Monroe impersonation, but it could probably scare some of our viewers away. I think it's the big 50 for him. Cinco 0 50. Yes, this is the big 50. It's all downhill from here. No, it's not. It's not, dude. You're good. 50 is the new 30. He's dude. You've seen his hair. That dude's got hair like a 25-year-old at a Bon Jovi concert in 1989. Actually, that's exactly what it looked like when he was at a Bon Jovi concert.
Some people are living on a prayer.
Don't start getting into quotes with him. He will start rocking our world. That man knows all 80s. But yes, happy birthday, Doug. How long has it been, Doug? 25 plus years we've known each other. Big happy birthday, big 5-0 to you. Hopefully you didn't have to work too hard and you got to relax today a little bit. So yeah.
Man, I'm loving all the comments about my hair.
My feed is not. My
Tommy,
feed must not
my
be.
good friend, Special Forces, long time Special Forces, solid dude, uh, over there making fun. Like, sometimes people don't believe that you have what it takes, and I have what it takes to grow hair. I look better bald, apparently.
There we go. Yeah. My for some reason my chat on the desktop is not refreshing. I look down and I got some good. I see the conversation going on there. That's weird that it's not going on. But anyways,
Well,
um,
let's just open up with hypocrisy.
yeah. Actually, before we open up, real quick, look down at the bottom of the screen. You can see you can text us 512-361-1178. 512-361-1178. You text that, it comes to Toby and I both. You can ask us some questions. You can something you want us to talk about. You want to tell us something that you just don't want to put in the chat. You can do it right there. 512-361-1178. That is an Austin-based number. I'm just going to say it that way. Tejas. Yeah. So let's get into it. What you got, Toby?
So, Twitter has been all of fire. Texas just hosted the national convention and annual meetings of the National Rifle Association.
It did.
It was down in Dallas, Texas. Like people are like, oh, they're just doing it there because, well, they do it there because they plan those things probably 5 to 6 years in advance. So like, don't get wild and crazy.
I mean, they're not doing it in Chicago. I'm just saying.
Yeah. One place it probably won't happen, Chicago. Although I would love for them to do it there, just to like, show what is possible. But there was a no RA rally led by some celebrity debutantes.
Who?
And,
what? I didn't hear about that.
Like, some of those people, in liberal Hollywood.
Yeah.
One of like
Debbie Gibson, not Debbie Gibson. Who's the Alyssa Milano or somebody when they?
Alyssa Milano. We'll just use her as an example.
Yeah.
So she's out there, riling up, the non-troops, to, get the fervor going, and she's surrounded by armed guards. It's like the hypocrisy and
I saw the video. I saw the guy like zoom in on the guy printing.
To see it.
Yeah, I saw the guy printing out of his coat, and the cameraman, whoever it was, video was like right behind him. You could see it clear as day. I think he had a Springfield. I wasn't sure, but it was pretty clear.
Yeah, no, it definitely looked like a mainframe.
Yeah,
and but it's like the hypocrisy of it, and the reason I bring this up isn't because like I want to make fun of people. The reason I'm bringing it up is because I want dialogue. I want debate. I want to know where you're coming from. I want to know what you think and what you feel, and I want to know why. And the reason I want that is because I think that is dialogue is the most important form of the human condition. I think the way that we've evolved has been due to communication, due to a dialogue. And that's why I'm like so fascinated by communication. That's why I'm so fascinated by social media. I'm so fascinated by other forms of media. And it's because it's communication. I think that's the most crucial part of the human condition. I think it's so, so important. But for you and I to communicate, we have to take each other seriously.
Right.
And I'm just going to use like the gun debate, if you will, as an example. And I'm using it as an example because people speak purely emotionally and with no knowledge, no research, no intellectual standpoint. And they get people all riled up. And, and it's all this emotion. And you want us to take you seriously and you want us to follow your lead, but you don't have the capacity to demonstrate why we should take you seriously.
Right.
I think Alyssa Milano, like outside of having a boyhood crush on her, and then when she did some vampire movie, it, kind of changed my life. And, like
changed your life. I don't know.
You know, it showed that there were other options out there.
There you go.
But the the point I'm trying to make is, I think when you have a platform, you can use it for good if you know what you're using it for. I'm going to throw some love on friend of the show, former guest Tim Kennedy, because that dude can intellectually defend his position, and he's not afraid to engage in dialogue, intellectual dialogue with anybody.
Right.
And in the past week, I'd say that there's been some jack wagons throwing shade on him, like one of which is from our community, and might even be like part of the infantry. I'm not sure if he's infantry. That Staff Sergeant John Burke guy. Like,
yeah, I gotta get the scoop from you on him. I see
everything
you.
about him, it screams douchebag to me.
I thought so. You've been hashtagging that quite a bit lately, and I've seen a few of his videos early on, but I got to get the backstory from you on why that is. You seem to got a little. I just don't know. I don't know much about him except for the few things I've seen. But
no, I mean, I think anyone that's trying to be like Facebook famous, and they're like selling their soul, to be famous purely as a veteran, and aren't offering much else in terms of that. People that go and create controversy. Right. How I feel, like friend of our show, CJ. We used to all co-host a show together, and one of the reasons we don't co-host a show together anymore is because there's times where CJ, I appreciate what he's trying to do, and I appreciate and respect his position, creates controversy so that he can defend his position, so that he can further his position. And I think that there's other ways to have dialogue than to create controversy. I don't like guys that wear shirts that are offensive in places that they know they're going to offend people. So when they go there and they offend somebody, and someone's like, that shirt, that's really not the culture that we're trying to promote here, goes outside and makes a fucking video, tirading in his car about, the injustice that he's been served by the violation of his First Amendment right. It's like, don't walk into a child care center with a baby killer shirt.
Yeah.
Like, knucklehead. Like, you're supposed to be smarter than that. You're supposed to represent us. You're supposed to be intellectual. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. And so when people like go out there and they're like, okay, we want everyone to think the NRA is this terrorist organization. We want everyone to think that anyone that is a card-carrying member of the NRA is a terrorist. They forget, like, when you apply to be an NRA member, it doesn't ask you what your affiliation is. It doesn't say you can only be a member if you're a Republican or a staunch conservative. It doesn't say that. And one of the reasons they can't track, what their demographics are in reality is because, like, they don't ask that question. Like, what they care about isn't your party affiliation. What they care about is, like, protecting the Second Amendment. Now, I agree that they are a big money monster, and they're like the big kid on the block, and they have the big stick. But they have the big stick because Americans are giving it to them financially. Like, they're not robbing anybody. They're not coercing anybody. They're not scamming anybody. They're not saying that they're going to take a bunch of veterans to a protest somewhere and give them food and shelter. No, like, they do what they say they do, and people pay them to do that. Period. So the irony of someone going out there, the hypocrisy of someone going out there to protest them while protected with probably card-carrying members of that organization, it's hard to take people serious.
No, but that's been the argument for the whole time, right? Many on the left in the progressive movement, those that are Hollywood rich and famous or whatever, that are very anti-gun and anti-Second Amendment, are usually the ones that are wrapped in security of armed personnel. And it's like, it's like, you can't be a mullah or an imam, of a Muslim faith and be eating a hot dog and tell everybody don't eat pork. Right? Or having a BLT, so you shouldn't be eating pork, right? That's pretty much what you're doing when you're up on a podium and you're saying guns are bad, take them all away, and you're surrounded by a couple hundred rounds and 4 or 5 pistols. So, yeah, it's it is. What gets me is these. We've talked about this before. We talked about this a lot during the campaign when all these Hollywood people who are so full of themselves were all threatening to run off to Canada and different places like that was going to make a difference. Like people were going to change their vote because of that. That yes, they are a U.S. citizen, and yes, they can have an opinion and all that kind of stuff. But it's like for them to think that anyone cares or puts credence in because they were an actor or a singer or anything like that, or maybe they have no talent like a Kardashian. I don't know. Is so vain and shallow. It just surprises me. They still think that people care. I mean, people only care while they make the songs they make or whatever, and after that they don't care anymore. Unless for some reason they do something like Kanye did and goes against the narrative. And I mean, whether that guy's got an album coming out or not, and if he did it because he's got that, the dude knows how to work publicity because he became relevant really quick rather than just being in the shadow of the Kardashian family, which seemed to be where he was heading. But
well, I think globally he's actually more relevant than his wife.
Oh, I think so too. He has more talent, that's for sure.
He's definitely a talent-filled guy. I've never been a fan. But I respect the talent. I respect his craft. I respect his art. It's not my flavor typically. Yeah. And again,
he had one song I liked. One song I really liked, the Gold Digger or whatever it was. That had a catchy tune to it. I like that one.
That was fantastic. Him and Jamie Foxx, right?
Yeah, that one I liked. But I wasn't a big fan of a lot of his other stuff. Just wasn't my thing either.
But immediately I discounted him, and this is, I think, a wonderful example. I discounted him and all of his artwork. Because after Hurricane Katrina, he got on television and said that Katrina happened because George W. Bush, doesn't like black people. Like, that's the most asinine statement anyone can make. Like, hey, George Bush has so much power that he can, like, call God and be like, my man,
bring it on Nola. Bring it on down to him.
Because, like, I know deep down you don't like him either. Like, that's the most ridiculous, asinine statement I've ever heard. And it was hard for me to take him seriously as a result of him saying obnoxiously ignorant and stupid things like that. Fast forward a few years. We're 10 years past Katrina, almost 12, right?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Right? So the young man's matured a little bit.
We all do that over time, for sure.
It happens, like wine. And he makes the statement where he defends, and this is like the beauty of it. And I was watching a clip of him on TMZ the other day, and he defended a conservative spokesperson that spoke in statistics, facts, and truths. Wasn't, like, let me give you some propaganda. It was like, hey, you've made this statement. Unfortunately, the facts and statistics don't support it. You've made this statement. Unfortunately, again, facts and statistics don't support it. This is what they do support. Therefore, what you can pull from that or derive from that is what the reality is actually this versus what you're saying, which is that. And he defended her. I believe her name was Candace Owens. He defended her, promoted her word, and said, hey, like, you're saying this, but she's saying that this is what's actually going down. So, like, she backed it up with facts and truths. I'm going to support her.
That's what's missing, right? We're in that society of instant gratification, instant news. Nobody wants to take the time to research anymore. So it's easier to get in a pissing match with someone, and especially now with the extensions of social media and all that stuff, to do it from behind a keyboard and just say, you suck, I don't like you, whatever, and not take the time. If you've ever been to a courtroom and watched a case play out, or you've watched any number of TV shows or movies of a court case, a lawyer may get up there and rant a little bit in closing and opening arguments. That's kind of where they set it up and where they're trying to just cinch the deal at the end. But between those two, which is pretty much a summary of opinion and facts and emotion they're trying to get across to set the final tone with a jury, it's all facts, right? Court cases last months because they have a team of lawyers in some cases that are really big and complex, researching and looking at precedents and gathering, details and talking to specialists and getting statistics and all stuff. They're not just two people up there yelling at each other, trying to convince 12 other people to change their mind. And it's amazing how the people in our society today forget that, prior to social media, that's how we handle things. You either say, I just don't agree with you, and I just feel this way for whatever reason. That's good. Or you actually do a little research and come back and say, actually, I read this, or I studied this, or I saw this, however true those things are. But at least you come with something. That's that civility that our good friend Matt Goss talks about, right? That's what civil discourse, which is what the First Amendment's all about, is to talk through things. Toby, you and I both have a number of friends that do not see politics the way we do. I chuckle at some of them when I see them on my Facebook wall and I see what they say, and I just ignore it. I'm not going to change their mind. But that's okay.
You don't see eye to eye on politics.
You and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. That's right. Our good friend Wendy, who used to be part of the show a lot and used to co-host with us and produce, definitely wouldn't see eye to eye with us. That's okay. I don't want us all thinking the same. If we all thought the same, we'd be freaking communists or we'd be robots, right?
And that's the beauty. And the reason I brought up the Kanye thing on TMZ was because he went there. Because they basically splashed him out or whatever the kid term is, fronted him or splashed him out or docked him or whatever that stupid terminology is. But he brought that girl Candace Owens with him,
right?
But he addressed some guys, and one of the guys was an African American that's very popular on the staff there, and that dude was like, "You're just shooting daggers at Kanye." Just shooting daggers at him. And Kanye went over to him and he's like, "Hey man, I'm really sorry that what I said hurt your feelings. I'm really sorry that me saying those things made you uncomfortable. I'm really sorry that you're hurt because of my words, but I love you." He was trying to hug the dude, and he was trying to be like, "Hey man, I'm sorry that you don't like what I had to say. I'm sorry that you think that because we have the same skin color that I should be lock, stop, and boot step with you. But these facts over here are saying otherwise. But I still love you, even though we're not the same."
Right.
Disagreement. We heard this a million times in the Army. It's one of my favorite sayings. I try to share it as much as possible. Disagreement's not disloyalty.
Right.
And I just really loved, and now that doesn't mean, if my older kids are listening, I'm not authorizing the purchase of a bunch of Kanye on my iTunes, but
that will get the password changed.
You can get it on your own music.
I'm curious though. Did Kanye, when he said all that, was he saying sorry in that Canadian accent like you just did? Was it with that same sorry? Because that sorry was coming out there time after time, dude.
It's some things,
never go away.
Some things never go away,
But it was it was like the rapper out of Chicago, right? Who said, not all black people have to vote Democrat, and then he got attacked. He was just saying, that's the whole everyone thinking the same way. What is the most? I mean, to me, that's the most bias and racist thing to think because of your skin color or your gender or your ancestry or whatever, right? That you have to think some way. Not everyone in the military votes Republican. Not everyone in the military is a big fan of the Second Amendment. Not everyone in Hollywood is a bleeding heart liberal. You're allowed free thought. My God, that's what this country's all about. You're allowed to think outside of what society thinks or says you should because of some characteristic about you or somehow what you represent.
And that's, that brings us back to this mob mentality, right? And this mob mentality, and I'm going to bring up this John Burke guy again. And, this dude took something that Tim Kennedy said on a podcast with Lance Armstrong, and I listened to that podcast, and I didn't hear anything on that podcast that would have led me to be offended in any way. I thought it was actually pretty impressive, knowing how left-leaning and how scaredy cat Lance Armstrong is on a lot of things in life, to how like risk adverse Tim Kennedy is on some other things. And I thought that was a wonderful example of two adults sitting down at a table with completely different backgrounds, talking some things through, some heavy things, and some scary things. Like Lance Armstrong's not a fan of guns, you know, and then you got Tim Kennedy, like probably, you know, like
was
throwing
probably,
his
probably
his
armed
backpack
during the podcast,
and his like sitting pack fanny, you know, like aka fanny pack, you know, like on the table. It's probably, you know, like got a Glock in it or something, you know, like I thought that was a wonderful thing. And this John Burke guy, you know, and that's why I like hashtag John Burke level douche, you know, like got this mob, you know, all, yeah, that's right, the hashtag got everyone like fired up and got the mob mentality of like, well, you know, like Tim Kennedy, you know, doesn't know what he's talking about. Tim Kennedy's an asshole, or Tim Kennedy's this. It's like, okay, one, did you listen to the podcast? Probably not. Pretty confident you didn't. In fact, if you could tell me the name of the podcast that Lance Armstrong does, I'd be impressed. I'm a subscriber though. And you know, you get people all riled up. It's that pitchfork mentality.
Right. Yeah.
You get people all fired up. The mob does it. We do it ourselves, not just other, you know, political camps, not just other, you know, mentalities, but that mob mentality goes and then people get after it. It's like Yeti. Holy crap. People went after Yeti. They were blown up $400 coolers.
I don't even know why people bought $400 coolers, much less blow them up. They need to get a freaking lobotomy. Like, put a sticker over it. Put an NRA sticker over it, something. Like,
it was, I mean, people were doing, like, the craziest things to the thing. And all Yeti did was say, hey, we have to revamp our discount plans. Not our sponsorship dollars. We have to revamp our discount plans because we want to continue supporting some great things and great organizations. And so instead of like offering this discount plan here to people like of such a huge, when you think about how many people the NRA has, millions and millions of members, right? If they offered that kind of discount to all that membership, well, they couldn't make any money.
Right.
And if they didn't make any money, then they couldn't support the organizations that are doing good things.
But you know what gets me? You know what gets me real quick, Tony?
People did all like, sorry to interrupt. Yeah. They blew all that stuff up and they got going, Yeti this, Yeti sucks. I got all these text messages. I bet you wish you didn't have any Yeti stuff. I'm like, no, dude, like I'm not an idiot. I can read press releases, and you know what? Yeti's the best product on the market. Was before they supported us, is now, and ever will be, because they believe in ingenuity. They believe in innovation. They believe in doing good things. You know who they support? The little guy.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in Austin, Texas, because of Yeti.
How many? Let me ask you this: what you think? And this is your opinion, but I just put a spin on this for you and those that are watching and listening. I wonder how many people that blew up Yeti coolers and blew up Yeti things were the same ones crying and bitching when the liberal left were complaining and wanting to boycott Chick-fil-A, right? I bet you it's probably 90% overlay, right? Yeah. Of the ones that were like, you know, the people that wanted to boycott, keep it out of Chicago, keep it out of New York, and I'm sure those people that were blown up here were the ones back then that were like, screw them, you know, Chick-fil-A can go anywhere they want, they make the best sandwiches, you know, that just because their CEO says so. You know why? Because it's a private business. So if a private business, because of capitalism, and we're not in a communist state. If they want to support something some way, if they're head of their company or any part of that have an opinion on something, then they're allowed to have that.
Well, and that's,
you know, unless that company is funneling money to a terrorist organization that is trying to kill Americans, that's the only reason right? You would not. I would advocate not spending money with any, but I would do that with any company. Is they're
So
trying to hurt us.
you just touched on something amazing, and let's just quickly unpack it real fast before we get on to the next subject. So you're talking about the owner of Chick-fil-A in an interview being asked his personal beliefs on something. The guy's Christian. In fact, he's an unwavering Christian in his faith. Something that I'm envious of. I'm envious of any man and woman that is able to like have the faith that is unwavering.
To the point that he forgoes profits by shutting down every location on a Sunday.
Right. Right. He wants his employees to have a better quality of life, so he doesn't up his operational expenditures, closing a day, so that they can make more money and have more time off. That's crazy that people would care about their employees so much. But they were asking him about his personal beliefs, not his corporate structural beliefs, his personal beliefs. And they were like, oh, well, you don't like this? Well, you should go to hell. And they go after him, his entire company, because of that. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Now, he does not funnel any money to any terrorist organization. His company doesn't funnel any money to any terrorist organization. In fact, they funnel it to really cool things like kid camps. There's thousands of kids that go to camp every summer as a result of Chick-fil-A. Maybe you didn't know that. There's a lot of parents that are able to successfully go through literacy programs now as a result of Chick-fil-A. There are guys, there's so many philanthropic things that Chick-fil-A does, and the Chick-fil-A Foundation is amazing. Care overtly, not covertly, overtly gives money to known terrorist entities and organizations.
CAIR, C-A-I-R.
C-A-I-R.
Right. The Center for
Arab whatever, Resilient,
Islamic,
whatever. Relations, Islamic.
I think Jim Hanson's on their board. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Coalition for American Islamic Relations, or whatever.
Yeah.
They knowingly, and this isn't like I saw it on Facebook. Like this has like been demonstrated repeatedly.
It's documented
on many platforms.
Yes.
Knowingly, willingly, and overtly give money to known terrorist organizations. No one protests them.
Right. In fact, they give them a microphone every time there's an incident. Every time there's an incident where someone of Muslim or Islam faith or name shoots something up, attacks somebody, and we could roll out a list of incidents that have happened, they're one of the first ones to a microphone and the first ones that got cameras in their faces.
Yeah. No, like where, the spokesperson for CAIR, is called for jihad against Donald Trump.
Right.
In America. Linda Sassour.
Yep.
Called for jihad. Like, and she's like, well, you don't know the meaning of jihad. Okay. Derivative word, the struggle, to struggle with, or to resist. You're like openly calling for the armed and violent resistance of the leader of the nation.
Isn't resist a hashtag now of the left? I thought that was a hashtag of the left. Like since November
9th, November 9th, 2016.
Yeah.
But like, no. But people don't do that, but it's this mob mentality.
But like I say, I just want to, I tied that into the Yeti thing because it was it's the same people that, like I say, complained about that will go off and do something about it. Look, they're a private company. Let them do what they want. I remember growing up, Toby, in the 80s and 90s, especially in the 80s, and certain musicians I liked and stuff, and there was, back then there was just a different time, and people were like, why do you like that guy? Because, he's gay and he does this and do that. People were like, I remember, people were like, I can't believe you listen to Elton John, all this stuff, like, or, Rod Stewart, like, dude, they make good music. I don't care what they do. If I cared what everyone does in their personal life, what they like or what they believe in or vote, I wouldn't watch crap. I wouldn't listen to anything. And how boring would that be? I mean, if someone is a good artist, if someone makes a good product, if somebody cooks a good meal, again, unless it's going to hurt, unless by me being partaking and paying for that service or that product is going somewhere to hurt people, innocent people, or hurt people I care about, then let them go do it. God, good for them. That's what capitalism is about. That's what the American people forget, right? There's actors and actresses that are out there on the far ends of the left, stomping up and down, wanting to take guns away and all that kind of stuff. You know what? They still make a funny movie. Now, if they don't make funny stuff like Alec Baldwin does on Saturday Night Live, it used to be a great show in the 80s. It went so far left, it's not even funny anymore, right? And then now they're catching heat about that from other Saturday Night Live people. But then it's not fun. I used to like Colbert. I used to record every Colbert episode when he was doing the Colbert Show. Now he's being himself. I don't find it entertaining. It's let people be people. That's what capitalism is all about. The Yeti thing was absolutely asinine and stupid.
Yeah, no, and that's the beauty of it. If people like what you have, I'm a huge Elton John fan. I've seen him in concert. I have his music. I listen to his music. It's on regular rotation. When a song like Bohemian Rhapsody comes on, everyone in the car figures out which part they're going to sing. They sing that part. And nowhere in that thought process is anyone going, oh, I'd really like to sing this, but Freddie Mercury was like super gay and died of AIDS. Like, no, like, dude made amazing music. Like, legacy.
Yeah.
Type, dude.
Rob Halford, dude. He's Judas Priest is one of the. He's still kicking it to this day. Right?
Like that doesn't matter, right. And it's like, I remember when the whole "don't ask, don't tell" stuff was coming out in the military, and everyone's like, "How do you feel about that?" It's like, I could care less, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've ever met an infantry person that did care less. Yeah. Because it was like, hey, when we go through the door, I'm going left, you're going right. Make sure you get to your point of domination. Make sure you execute this battle drill with speed, silence, and maximum violence. And anything outside of that, it's irrelevant.
Right.
Like, after the safety brief, I don't care what goes down. Like,
you can stack on me, dude. You can stack right behind me because we're both at the door. I'm taking the number 2 spot. You're rolling number 3, right? Just make sure,
And that's like, I had the pleasure of spending most of the day filming a spot for Chive.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was hoping you'd bring that up.
And so like I got asked a bunch of questions, and one of the questions they asked me is like, what do you think, like the greatest challenge facing veterans coming out of the military into the civilian world is? And and I personally think that one of the greatest challenges that the veteran communities face, leaving the active duty military, leaving the military community, going into the civilian population, is they don't understand how much they have to offer. They really don't know like everything that they have. But what they do have above everything else is a willingness to do their job, tune everything else out and be like, oh, you said you need me to execute A to B. All right, let me get on that.
Right.
And like all that other noise, it's gone.
Oh, and in one of the most, if not the most diverse environment you'll ever be in, that brings people from all over the country, if not all over the world, into one tight, maybe a 5 or 6 man team, maybe a squad or platoon, from every background, from every dialect, together, working together on one focus. But you can't find a better example of diversity in any organization in the world than the U.S. military.
I talked about that because I was talking with the filmmaker, and I was like, hey man, when you went to school, when you went to film school, who was with you? And he's describing, like his class, and I'm like, man, y'all sound the same. He's like, yeah, it was so awesome to work with people, that were so like-minded, that were like all pursuing the same thing. It's like, I spent my entire career working with people that I had no idea where they were from. Like, they would list the town, and I'd be like, oh, that's in West Virginia. So West Virginia looks like this. Where are you? Oh, I'm from Michigan. Okay, where are you on Michigan?
Right.
Or like I'm from wherever, right? And you're like you would try and figure out where that was, but you had no idea the socioeconomic background. You had no idea, and it was irrelevant.
It was. Yep, that's right. Because you were there
You
for one
could be from
purpose.
inner city. You could be straight out of Compton. It didn't matter because it was like, here's what we have to do, and we're going to start with Battle Drill 1 Alpha. So, like, I'm going to need you.
and you know what? You probably saw it because I know I did. I literally had guys in my squads and my teams or whatever, what element I was in charge of or working with, where one guy would be from the deepest part of frickin' Alabama. White dude, as southern as they come, and his best buddy or his roommate in his room in the barracks is from Compton or from frickin' downtown Chicago or from frickin' Omaha, Nebraska. Just everything, right? And you learn from each other. And guys went home, on pass. Like, do come home and do this. I mean, I went on. Sometimes I go on leave with guys, or we'd get a pass, and I'd go see their family and stuff from parts of the country I'd never been to before.
Yeah.
And so that's again another thing. People may be working together doing something on a mission, whether you're working together in a company or you're doing something volunteering, but it does not mean you all have to, or worse, or at a more deeper level, you live in the same area or you have the same gender or makeup of demographics does not mean that you can't disagree and still get along. Right. So anyways, we went a long time on that topic. We have a lot of things to cover.
Speaking of not getting along, let's talk about Israel not getting along with Iran, dropping some bombs in Syria today, hitting an
right?
Iranian base, getting after it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about.
Was that timed with the announcement from the president? I don't know.
I possibly, but let's rewind a couple of days because we haven't had a chance to talk about this. Last week we talked about just the monumental implication of North and South Korea.
Right.
Then the very next moment after we get done doing that, Mr. Netanyahu, the leader of Israel, the elected democratic leader of Israel,
literally right after the show,
gets on international television. He's like, all right, hey, tired of being Mr. Nice Guy here. Let me lay out some evidence. And let me just show you what's really up.
Did you watch that? I watched the whole thing.
I did, and I was like,
he had PowerPoints timed. He had his graphics already. That was rehearsed.
No, it was like they did a couple walkthroughs.
Yeah,
that was like the S3 threw the deck together, and he was like trying to figure it out. Like next slide, read it. Okay, let me go. No, that was a well presented thing.
And he knew the material because he wasn't turning around reading it. He just looked and knew what was on that slide. He knew what was the graphics were behind it.
No, that was okay. Pro tip: that's how you do it.
Yeah.
But laid out some harshness, laid out some hey, we've been watching you. So one kind of tells the world our intelligence system working. We're not asleep on the job. And here's what's up. And we've shared this with some other folks. They validated it. And, we're seriously contemplating what's up. And dude, that was a strong moment. That was a strong moment. And there's no doubt that their efforts, their intelligence, and this is what's going to be interesting. You heard it here first from my mouth. We're going to hear how we knew about this 2 years ago.
Oh,
it hasn't come out yet.
In the previous administration.
We're going to hear about it.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to hear about it. How we knew about this 2 years ago, and we didn't do anything about it. Instead, we did the opposite.
Pallets of cash.
Yeah. Lifting sanctions. Stupid deals, every time I think of Iran, I can't think of Iran without thinking about those stupid sailors, and that's right. I'm calling them out. Sitting there on the deck in their white socks, crying like little babies because they got taken by a gunboat. because their GPS failed. What that boat lacked was leadership.
Yep.
What that boat lacked was faith in the leadership above them. What they should have done is they should have taken that inferior boat and treated it like a Somali pirate, and then been like, "My bad, you attacked us in international waters. Oh, we weren't in international waters? Our bad. You attacked us. Hey, guess what? Guess what happens when you have the bigger stick? In the great words of the former great American poet and lyricist Chris Cornell, we got the stick, we got the bigger bomb. That's right, audio slave. We got the whip.
Yep. No, and we see now, the president, and I heard some commentary today. I was on a little trip today, and I was coming back, and I heard some commentary about, some of the left were crying and freaking out because, saying, oh, the gas prices are going up and all this, which I'm glad that's what they care about is gas prices, not the possibility of nuclear war from a terrorist country, but gas prices. And what the one comment was, he promised us all through the campaign. He didn't come in on January 21st and just strike this thing down. Just like he hasn't thrown Hillary in jail right away, hasn't done this. In fact, we've seen the president change his mind on some stuff. We've seen him this stuff. He has shown that he is not so jaded or influenced one-sided from one party or another, or from one angle or agenda, that he just does not look at reason. I mean, he had, the French Macron here. He had Merkel. He's talked to probably who knows how many leaders around the world, not just them, how many probably in the Middle East. And of course, and definitely Netanyahu also. He's taken time. He's taken all the facts. He's measured it all out. And if anything, maybe he didn't make the decisions have some of the people like, but you can't say that he is just flying off the seat of his pants, or because that's kind of the way the left portrayed him when he won, right? Was he's going to get us in nuclear war, like when he's doing the whole Rocket Man thing. He doesn't know what he's doing. I can't believe, remember the video? I was at the inauguration. I didn't see that girl, guy, whatever it was. Remember the one crying when they were announcing him as the president? Everyone thought the world was going to end.
Planes.
Right.
Like, I can't sit next to you because you voted for the guy that's going to lead us to our destruction.
Right.
The destruction of all humanity. Wrong.
Right. He took everything into consideration, and he said, you know what? And more than likely, the stuff from that the President Netanyahu came out with, like you said, we probably have known for long before this administration came into power. Our National Security Council and all of our intelligence services knew. Netanyahu probably said, "I'm coming out with it." Who knows? Maybe he did it to help support the decision. Maybe he knew the president was going to make. Maybe he did it to help tip the scales a little bit to get that decision out of the president. Who knows? But the president weighed everything. He listened to everything. He made a decision. I believe the decision is good. I believe it's the right one. I never saw or heard anything as I saw that deal come out, and anything that John Kerry supports and runs around the world talking about, it can't be a good thing. Anything that we ship pallets of cash to people overnight can't be a good thing. If you're doing it under the cover like that, it's not. Then you're obviously trying to hide something, right? So I think it was a good thing.
John Kerry. Is that treason?
Yeah, I think it's a
or is that Logan Act violation.
Yeah, Logan Act violation. I think it is. He's not a representative. I mean, isn't that what they were going after Flynn for? Isn't that what they went after?
That's exactly what they went after.
Right?
Flynn.
You're not a representative of the United States government yet. You were in a campaign. Who are you to talk to foreign leaders or foreign dignitaries?
That's exactly what they went after him for.
And this guy's just out there blatantly doing it. Right?
Yeah. And he's not the only one.
No. But he's doing it like he's flaunting it in front of someone's face. And I hope that the Department of Justice and those look at that and they go after him just like they went after General Flynn and anyone else they've tried to go after.
No, that's something like we just need to quit this double standard, right?
Right.
We need to, if you're going to go after Trump, then let's start laying prosecution where we already have evidence.
That's what precedence is all about, right? You set the precedence.
Yeah. So how long has Mueller been after Trump? Are we at a year yet?
I think we're at a year now already. Yeah.
Got anything?
Yeah. There's anyone that knows the federal government. This is why I always laugh at all these idiots, and I'll call you idiots if you're watching. I'm gonna call you an idiot. If you think that the government was behind 9/11, and you think that there's all this conspiracy stuff is happening and the government's all behind it, you obviously do not know the government, because you can't get two people in the government in the same room to keep a secret, right?
Yeah,
It just doesn't happen, right?
Yeah. OPSEC isn't the way it was 50 years ago.
No.
So they haven't found anything, but yet they have found some things on other people.
Yeah.
Like, so let's go with, let's take care of the lack of double standard. If Trump did something bad, I'm the first person to say, get him.
Yeah.
You are not exempt. Get him. But if we have proof on other people, we need to get them too. John McCain said, "You're not welcome at my funeral." That might have been the funniest thing I heard all day. Like, you're going to disinvite someone from your funeral. That might be the most childish, tone-deaf thing I've heard in a long time. Like, I don't want you to celebrate the accomplishments of my life. Like, hey, homie.
You know what? People do anything to get publicity, and when you're cutting a book, you're doing whatever you can to get publicity. That book became they gave that book credence. Who cared about John freaking McCain, right? Yeah. He's irrelevant. He's been irrelevant for a long time. The only time he's been relevant in the last couple of years was when he picked Sarah Palin, when he came on the floor and went against everything and gave a thumbs down on the Obamacare repeal, and this statement. Otherwise, no one listens to him. Just like nobody listens to Lindsey Graham anymore.
So now, I absolutely respect how he is the shining and possibly the best example of the code of conduct in the history of the United States. He had the opportunity to parole, and he did not take it. He had the opportunity to get out. He was afforded freedom, and he elected to remain behind because, like, he held to it. And so I will never disparage that effort. But that was a long time ago, and a lot of life has passed, and a lot of decisions and a lot of actions have been taken in the meantime. And I believe that you are some of the body of work, not just one moment, right?
Right.
And, when you deliberately go out of your way, like a petulant child, to take advantage of certain things, it's like, again, it's hard to take you serious. Like, if I was ever to fall in the hands of the enemy, I hope and pray that I would find the resolve and the courage that John McCain and those other gentlemen found in the Hanoi Hilton. I say that with the deepest of sincerity. I do it. But here's the deal. Some guys saw that war, they had their political views, and they did not participate. One of which was our president. He chose to take opportunities to not go. Other presidents in the past took a similar route and did not do it.
Yep.
And I got into like a little bit of a Twitter thing with these knuckleheads over there at this PFC that's the head of policy over at Vote Vets. Because he's like, well, you're a chicken hawk and we can't listen to anything you say because you're a draft dodger. You're bone spurs. And he always hashtags the bone spurs. And, I'm like, hey, cool, man. You know what? That war that you allegedly fought in as a Lance Corporal there in the Motor T, he ended that. And where another administration was willing to take an L on that and did, he turned that record around and put a W in the column. Oh, and your grandfather's war, the Korean thing that's been going on since 1952.
Looks like he's ending that one too. Yeah.
So for a guy that didn't serve, and for a guy that hashtag bone spurs his way out of things, man, he's sure as hell good at ending wars.
Well, here's the thing, man. You said it a second ago. They're not and I don't know how to paraphrase, but one act doesn't make a man, right? It's your whole life. And I used to tell, and several of my soldiers I used to serve with are in the room, and they probably in the chat room, and they probably heard this from me before, because I've said it to almost every soldier I think that I've ever led, and many civilians that I work with and lead, and that is, you can do 1,000 things right, but it only takes one thing wrong to erase all that, right? You could have been awesome. You could have done all those great things, but so you could do something wrong, and it erases all. So you can't look at one event and say that dude was awesome at this one time. How was his whole life? Did he come out of that one time? There were people that are murderers in prison that were in the military that probably served heroically in the military, and we know there's some that have done things that are either in Leavenworth or they're in regular civilian prisons that did a great thing, but they've come back and led a life of drugs and murder and mischief and whatever, and you just go, well, they were in the military, they got a Bronze Star and they won a battle. That's awesome. That's cool. They killed 5 bad guys, but yeah, I mean, John McCain, same thing. I said this when he said it, and I'll say it again here. I said I supported the president when he said that when he made the comment, and he probably said it in light and jest and didn't mean it the way it definitely they try to portray it. But when he said, hey, I like heroes that don't get shot down, and he got something to that effect. I don't remember the exact term, but he got shot down, and I can say heroic, and everyone freaked out, like, oh my God, how could you say that about? No, I'm with them. Getting shot down does not make you a hero. Now, if he did what we hear in Hanoi Hilton, and he took those acts and those selfless acts, like you say, that is heroic. Yeah. Flying your F4 Phantom and catching a Stinger or an SA-7 or whatever it was in the rear and having to eject is not a heroic act, right? That's why, just like you and I have talked about before, just because you go to combat does not make you a hero. Not everyone that serves is a hero, right?
I use this example all the time. There's a guy that runs in the Wounded Warrior Circle. His name's Brian Fleming. He's got a website called Blown Up Guy, and he's trying to be an inspirational speaker. And he's won a huge tool. And I don't give him any credence because I'm like, okay, one, you're an E4 that fell asleep in a turret and let a suicide bomber get close enough to detonate on your vehicle. So, okay, one, you're a failure as an infantryman, because like you didn't provide, you had one job. You had one job, security, and you failed. And you're trying to turn like what happened to you, your failure, into like an inspiration. It's like, dude, there's nothing inspirational about you. Like I got some guys. You see who I work out with every morning.
Dude, look at our past guest Tim Payne, who was doing the infantry thing, and he caught one, right, and lost both legs. Who's more inspirational than that dude?
Yeah, but like
who's now going to the Invictus Games in Sydney, Australia. Congratulations, Tim. That's awesome to represent the U.S. Army yet again.
Yeah. The other thing is like Tim's a great example, and he's a wonderful example because he's like, okay, I'm not going to let this injury, this event, be my identity.
Right.
You ask him, he doesn't introduce himself as triple amputee. He introduces himself as either Staff Sergeant Tim Payne, or he introduces himself as Tim, warrior for God, soldier for Christ. Yeah. Like he introduces himself as anything but injured. Like you read his accolades. Before you read Purple Heart, you're going to read 5-time, medalist, blah, blah. You're going to read that, like, because he's like, that's not what defining me.
Right.
How I got knocked down isn't important. How I got up is.
He considers that a blessing. He's told me. And I think he said on the show, that by being in the state he's in gives him a voice. He said, if I was walking around on 2 legs, nobody listened to me. He says, but being in this gives me an avenue to have a voice to preach the word of God. He goes, so I get people's ears. And
the use of that, like Jocko says it all the time, life's a burpee, right? Like you get knocked down, your feet get kicked out from underneath you, you got to get your feet back underneath you, you got to get back up, and you got to jump. Like life is a burpee, and it's how you react to it. And these guys, like when Trump said that statement, I knew exactly who he was talking about. And I don't mean John McCain. I mean the thousands of Americans that, are perpetrating some kind of hero status based off a failed event in their life, and are trying to like be famous off of something that, you know, like it isn't really their accolade, right. Isn't their thing. And, you know, like I get it, man. I get it. And, you know, the hypocrisy of all this stuff is crazy. Like guys going behind the country's back, trying to do these back channel diplomacies to save something purely to spite a leader.
Right. I mean, what does John Kerry think he's gonna? Whose mind he's gonna change? Going to talk to these leaders is not gonna change the president's mind. He can go freaking kiss the rear end of the freaking leader of Iran with lipstick on. That's not gonna make President Trump go, oh, okay, I'm not gonna pull out. He's talking to the wrong guy. You know who he's not gonna have any pull with? The president. So going there is not gonna help, right?
No, and that's the thing. It's like, when are we going to have faith in the people that willfully elected someone, lawfully elected someone? And when are we going to, like, you know, start supporting leadership and not trying to, like, undercut it? And I don't just mean Trump. I mean our own businesses. I mean, oh, I don't like so-and-so's politics, so I'm going to try and ruin their business. I'm going to, like, when are we getting back to civility?
Right. Yeah. Our buddy Matt preaches that all the time, and he always talks about that. And I think he knew it before his time. It's you know, again, we talked about already tonight's show. We cannot agree on everything. That's okay. That's the whole, right, that term, right? Agree to disagree. That's okay. That's what that term means. All right. I'm not going to convince you. There's people in our chat room right now listening to us right now. I guarantee you. I know for a fact I don't agree with them on every single thing on every single topic. All right, cool. I'll still go out of my way for them. Some of them, you know, just like I would for you, just like I would for a lot of people. Right? That's civility. That doesn't make me anyone special. That's just being a human being and a good person, I think. I think that's all it is. Right? And you know, when if I see something happening and someone's under threat, if I see someone attacking somebody, if I'm in a grocery store or a convenience store and someone pulls out a gun and starts going after it, and I run to the fire and go to I'm not asking the person getting shot at what their voter's registration is. I'm not asking them their stand on abortion. I'm not asking them, you know, who they voted for or what their favorite singer is. That's nothing to do with anything. And the best image I have of this, if you were to take all this and put it in a graphic, is you look at those pictures on the morning of 9/11/2001. You look at the pictures of people that all look the same because they're covered in dust, and they're the people in torn up suits carrying people that are in uniforms, or carrying women that are, you know, that were cleaners in the building or whatever. And we see the civility, man. The civility poured out in the days after 9/11 for probably the first 6 months, but especially in the area that really did not know civility more than anywhere, and that was New York City, where people stepped over homeless people and didn't think about it. We saw it just pouring out, and it was such an inspiration for this country to see, and we saw the stories over and over where they were coming up and hugging, not only just hugging and thanking cops and firemen, but people were just talking about it all the time in the news. They were seeing each other, nodding at each other, and asking people, hey, how you doing? How's it going? People that didn't know each other. New Yorkers, the most crude, you know, people ignoring everyone, were the most...
Probably one of the rudest places on earth.
Right. We're reaching out because we saw it, because they suffered and they went through, because all that other crap didn't matter. None of it matters, right? What matters is we want to live a peaceful life and raise our families and be prosperous and do all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I kind of went on a rant there, but I mean, I just think if you look back at those images, video or still photos from that time on that afternoon for the next couple of days, I think you see civility, and I think you see the American people absolutely at their best.
I think Sebastian Junger, you know, captured it probably the best in his recent book. I guess it's a couple years old now, called Tribe. And it's usually hardship and adversity, pain and suffering that brings people from individual status to community status. And that's the tribal need within human nature. And
You saw it in the floods in Houston.
Oh,
God, you saw it firsthand, dude.
yeah, there was no. I saw it in the wildfires in Bastrop. Saw it in the
Yep.
floods in Houston. There was no like, oh, what side of the neighborhood do you live on? What's your political leaning? All that goes out the window when it's just like, okay, we're talking about human life, and I got that song, in my head right now playing in the background. You're like, smile on me, brother. It's like just reach down and pull somebody up out of the water and put them in your boat.
Isn't it a shame it takes something like that to bring out the best of us? It
Yeah.
takes
No, and
it
that's the sad.
takes the worst of
Yeah.
things happening.
Yeah.
Let me give you a quick story on what I saw today. I was in New York City today. I was in a Starbucks in New York City in Manhattan. I haven't even told anyone about this. I was sitting there. I was getting ready to go to a meeting. I was having a cup of coffee, a little quick bite to eat. Flew in early this morning, and I had my headphones on. I started hearing this yelling, and I look up, and there's a couple people in line, and there's this middle-aged, a little bit heavier set black woman, professional looking in like a women's suit with a purse and a bag and stuff like that, and another lady, a white lady, shorter than her, real skinny and small, probably 150 pounds, 200 pounds. I mean, she was really tiny little thing, and this woman, this African American, was screaming, dude, like a drill sergeant, inches from her face, in the line. Like the people around him are staring. I mean, I heard it go over my music. I looked up, and they were maybe 6, 7, 8 feet from me. And the people working there at Starbucks were freaking. They were like staring. Everyone's like looking at each other. I don't know what happened, if she bumped into her or what. And she was just screaming at the top of her lungs. And this woman just was just staring. Just kind of had a kind of a smile, just trying to downplay it. Just shaking her head. She wasn't antagonizing her. And this woman was just unleashing. And then she turned to the Starbucks employee, and they were like, "You get your coffee over there." She was like, "No, I'm staying right here. You're gonna give it to me right here." Now there's 10 people behind her. Anybody could have said anything, but everyone was just like, "Let this go." And I just sat there and I'm like, this is. I mean, I was looking for phones to come out because I'm like, is this lady gonna scrap? Like, she's in a business suit. She looks like she's going to work in one of these buildings around here. She wasn't like a homeless person or anything like that. I'm like, she looks like a competent, educated woman. And she is losing her crap on this lady. And it calmed down. She got her coffee. She walked by the lady, turned around, and went at her again. I mean, this went on for about a minute and a half. Again, now the lady, the shorter lady who's being attacked, is back to me. So I'm looking at the face of the other lady who's doing the screaming. And she's looking down at her. And she is, telling you, Toby, 2 inches, no more than 2 inches from her face. Almost knife hands, if she didn't know what knife hand was. Screaming at her, and the lady just let it go, just took it, and just eventually she got out. And the employees are just like smiling, kind of shaking their heads. They kind of have that look like, Jesus Christ. But I mean, it happened like that, and it went on. I didn't know if there was going to be a fight or not. I was kind of in the corner table. I'm like, there's nowhere for me to go if they start scrapping. Like, I got to get to a meeting. I don't have time for this.
Out and yell, "World Star, World Star!"
But I looked at that, and that's what kind of gave me this perspective. I thought about that. Afterwards, I was sitting there and I thought, man, how long we've changed from when New York reached out to each other, when they helped each other up, and when they put their arms around each other. Whatever happened couldn't have been that bad in a line at Starbucks. You're in the biggest, greatest city in the world. You're in a freaking Starbucks, and you're getting your double skinny latte. Even if someone bumped into each other, there's nothing, right? There's no one pouring stuff on each other. There was no one swinging fist. But it kind of gave me that epiphany, that moment. I just kind of like, oh man, yeah, we're back to that. No one cares about anybody anymore. But that happened this morning.
Well, I hope that if you're listening right now, be it watching us on any of the live streams or feeds, or you downloaded us on iTunes, you're on Spreaker, that from here on out, the rest of the day, and take it into the following day. You have an opportunity to share a little kindness, spread a little love. I'm not saying you got to do the whole like buy coffee for the person behind you kind of thing, but smile. Walking down the street, I got to remind myself sometimes that I got an ugly face, and that it's resting dick face or whatever you call it. That like it's not always friendly. Smile. Smile at people. Don't look angry. Don't look intimidating. Be happy. Spread love. Smile at the kids. Don't get annoyed when you're at the hockey game and the kid in your aisle like goes in and out of your road and you got to stand up, sit down like 15 times, and you're going into overtime. Like, don't get angry. Like that kid's having an experience. Maybe he's got like the green apple splatters. He's got to go to the bathroom. He's like got issues, whatever it is. Like, like think more than yourself. Think above yourself, and just share love, man. Love people. It's the greatest commandment of all, right?
That's right.
Love people.
Yeah, and I think on this topic, we've been going a little over an hour. I think playing a little Matt Goss on our way out tonight would probably make sense. What do you think on that?
Oh man, dig it.
There's another guy that, and you and I both know that, man, there's not many people that show more love than he does for a lot of folks, and like I said, the guy preaches civility.
So are you going to play When Will I Be Famous in honor of John Burke?
No. I wasn't. That's not civility. That's not civility. No, I'm going to play The Day We Met, because I think that's one of my favorites.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. And, we haven't played any Matt in a while. We need to get him on, too. We in fact, we got to talk to him because we've been working some stuff.
We're getting ready to go out to Vegas.
Yeah, we got to work that up. So, no, what do you think? Anything else you want to hit on, Toby, before we let everyone go for the night? And thank you, everybody, for giving us your Tuesday night. We see a lot of you still hanging with us here.
We got some cool guests coming up. I believe we got Centurion Military Alliance founders coming up here in a little bit. I think 3 or 4 weeks. We're trying to get them locked down. They committed to being on. Excited about having them on to talk about what they're doing. Some good transitional veteran stuff content coming on, as well as some like neat, fun pop culture current event stuff coming up. And just really excited again to be supported by Enlisted 9. Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Dan O'Brien, but Colton and Megan Smith are just two of the greatest human beings on earth. They're wonderful parents, leading their kids in just wonderful ways. They're expecting a little girl. It just got announced that the third member of the fire team is going to be a little princess. So pretty excited about that. I think Megan's probably pretty excited that she's not going to have another grappler, for at least a couple of years.
I bet you that little girl's going to be tougher than them boys.
She's probably going to be savage.
She's going to have to defend herself. Yeah.
But when you see people you love and care about doing great things, and you know that their success is born in hard work and good moral ethics, I'm surrounded with just blessings of guys like Cody Hurt, Brad Stripmatter, guys like that. Got you, obviously, and my life's so enriched by the good people around me. And when you see people doing well, Tim Kennedy, don't let these haters get you down.
Mike Simpson.
Big, the Dr. Mike, yeah, and for sure, all these guys doing great things all the time, and just pouring into communities, pouring positivity, pouring their experience and knowledge base into things. Do that. Love people and use your power for good, and do your part to be civil.
Yeah.
Do your part. And it's like that movie a couple years ago, one person can make a big difference if you do it. And I don't know why we're on this tangent today, but it's a good tangent. Civility, hashtag civility, except if you're John Burke, you're still a douche.
Well, there we go. It is what it is. So, hey, everybody, don't forget, next week we are on Thursday night, not Tuesday night. So next week you're going to join us on Thursday, May 17th, in the New Southern Studio down in Austin, Tejas. So be with us. So Tuesday night, you got Tuesday night off. Whatever you normally are going to do, you can go do that. But we thank you for, again, tuning in tonight. We had a lot of people in the chat, a lot of people watching. At least on Facebook. I wasn't watching the other outlets. I'll check it after the show, but we appreciate that, and we appreciate you tuning in, and hopefully you like what you hear. Toby, good to see you, brother, and I look forward to see you real soon face to face. And with that, We'll place a little Matt on the way out. The Day We Met, Matt Goss.
I was on the beat with cherry blossom streets, don't know where to go, but I'm going somewhere. I was feeling high, it's getting hard to hide, inhibitions trying not to care. You can't live in fear, it's left foot, right foot, yeah, yeah. Now she's not here, I guess I'm moving on, yeah. But I can breathe again, yeah, yeah. It's feeling good to forget all the love and words she said. I can't remember how she smiled, all the places that we went. She always said it would never end. Today's the day I start again, and it feels so good, baby. Oh, it feels so good to forget the day.